Nick is here right now. He just snuck in on us here. We're talking about BlackBerry, and we're looking at Morgan Stanley. They're upgrading the stock to equal weight here this morning. Yet their price target's at $7, and the stock's at 7.47 here. So if I'm following Morgan Stanley, I don't know what to do. What are you doing on BlackBerry, Nick?
Nothing.
BlackBerry, are they still in business?
This is one Nick
my
hasn't even brought up on his chart since the last time we asked him on the show.
my kid asked me, "What's a BlackBerry?" He's 13.
It's
I'm just
something
saying.
you buy at the store and you eat them.
I told him it's the president's phone.
Okay, I had to laugh, and that was a good one, Joel.
No, I said it's the president's phone. I don't know anybody that uses a BlackBerry. I really don't know why we cover it. But this is an important level, I guess. Yesterday, what is it today? This morning, I haven't looked.
So it's up 20 cents on this supposed Morgan Stanley upgrade.
I mean, I don't understand why anybody would chase this thing except for a complete buyout. They keep talking about intellectual property. At some point, that stuff would die. The intellectual property on Xerox is probably nothing now from the initial invention of the Xerox machine. So, I don't know. Technically, it needed to hold 7-ish because that's the bottom from like a few months ago, 8 months ago or so. It had a little bit lower, obviously, to 550 before that, but it's trying to make a stand at 7. So if it loses 7, forget about it. But hey, if they think there's upside there, they might know something that we don't as far as buyouts.
I don't even know if they think there's upside there, though, because they're saying the price target's 7. So I don't know. They need to get there. They should at least raise their price target if they're upgrading the stock. So I'm just not a fan of this right there this morning.
Yeah, it's a special language that analysts sometimes use that you don't know. There should be a unified way of saying you're not allowed to say this unless you really mean that. I'm not sure. But, follow at your own risk, obviously, what they say, because you have to see what they said before, and I don't track it or them, so I don't have an opinion.
All right, Nick. Well, I don't know if you were listening earlier here, but Dennis and I are getting into a little bit here on Twitter, and you are going to be the voice of reason here. And
I am, and I'm going to play both sides of that fence. I did listen.
Oh, man. Okay, go ahead.
That's the way to play it.
I am long it, and I think that it is primed for a big move up because of the drubbing yesterday. So this is probably good timing that we sold off yesterday and people were hungry for bounces. And I think the moves in Google and Netflix opened the door for these massive leaps. And then the next week after that, we had some ones that went the other way that kind of deflated it. So maybe this time they're hungry to jump up. However, if I look at the August open interest, it tells me that it's going nowhere. So I wouldn't chase anything unless I'm already in it. But like Joel said, he already said goodbye to his money, and that's the way you play the earnings. You pick an amount that won't break your heart, and you flip a coin, and you set the money, and you see what happens. I flipped the coin, and up it went. So I'm bullish on it through the earnings just because it's a guess more than a conviction.
Well, why is it a guess when they came out and said that they reaffirmed their guidance for this quarter? Why is it a guess if the company? I mean, now obviously if they come out with a miss, it's actually going to get tarred and feathered and be under $30. But why when they fire Costello?
I don't know about that. What if they come out with a miss and they say we have this CEO and the CEO is loved by everybody? Would it matter? It won't matter. It won't matter. Numbers don't drive the move unless they're definitively bullish, like the story in Netflix. We're growing this much, so the numbers are going to be great down the line. Same with Amazon. Everybody's expecting a loss. It came in with a profit. So if it's a fundamental change in the story or a very good directional driver, then yes, it matters. But if it's meh, and the big news is something else, they'll move on that big news. So it doesn't matter if they affirm or reaffirm. In fact, it creates a risk because if they said we're going to be as expected, and what if they don't? Then the selling will be fast and furious. But I do believe that it got to a level where people will start saying, like Apple, if Apple gets down to 100, you think it won't find buyers? Same here. I mean, it's getting down to low lows. So if it does sell, I think buyers will step in. So I bet up, and we'll see what happens. But again, it's an amount of money that I've said goodbye to, like you worded it. I love the way you worded it.
Okay, tomorrow night we're going to get Facebook. What are your thoughts here on this one? Because completely different story than Twitter. It's a stock that has been loved up till 5 days ago. It was approaching 100. Everybody had their Facebook 100 hats out, and that obviously didn't come to fruition. Now that it failed the first time at 100, and we've pulled back a little bit off those highs. What are your thoughts on Facebook here, and what are your thoughts going into tomorrow night's report?
I took calls yesterday on the sell-off. I figured I'm going to do a lottery ticket on Facebook, and what better day to do it than a red day. The only bummer about it is that yesterday the VIX was up so much that even the calls premiums were inflated. If you look at, buying the straddles and all of these lottos, it's insane. It's really hard to pick a level to buy it and keep it a lottery-sized ticket. It becomes an investment immediately when the market is expecting $8, $9, $10 move on a $30 stock or something like that on Twitter's side. So, or it's $4. I think it was $4.50 on Twitter. So it is hard, but I am looking for higher prices in Facebook. It looks like people want it over 100. And if they don't have a reason to sell it, they've been loving it. And it's hard to mess up 1 billion plus users. And Zuckerberg is saying all the right things. And I think they keep that beat going. So I went on feeling. And then the second point was like, how high do I go with my calls? So I went with a call calendar. So hopefully I picked a good level where the short leg will expire worthless, or I can close it for pennies and keep holding the long one.
Could you explain that a little bit more, Nick, for some of our listeners not that familiar with options? Thank you.
A call calendar is where I want to take advantage of the current inflated prices of the current week, and I want to go along something next. For example, if I wanted to go along Facebook for August, calls. I buy the call, and let's say, and I'm throwing out numbers, it costs me $5 for the call. I can lower my cost by selling the shorter dated call, same level, against it. So let's say I pick the 106 call, I buy that. I sell the 106 call for this week and collect some money. That lowers my entry point for the longer dated call. Ideally, you want price to come to 106, but not above it this week. And then that leg I sold will expire worthless, or I can buy it back for pennies after the event because the premium deflate. And then I'm left long for a discount because I took in some money in order to finance some of that long. There is no margin requirement on this one because even if it goes to $1 million, you have that longer dated call that won't create undue risk.
All right, let's move on here. I just want to talk to you about just a little bit revisionist here, looking at that Amazon move from yesterday, or Friday, I believe. Did you play that at all? Did you have any lotto going in there? And then what did you think about the move afterwards?
I did not have a lottery ticket. I did try, but they were so expensive, Joel. It was incredible. So I stayed out. The move was fundamental. So shorting it was after the fact that you couldn't have faded it like Dennis liked to do. And it's just based on fundamentals because usually Amazon gets hammered for profitability, even though I keep beating the drum. I don't know why people still short it for that reason. It is the ultimate growth company. When it stops growing, then ask for the bottom line. Until then, it's a startup. It's a never-ending startup. Who cares that it's been in business umpteen years? If it's still growing like a startup, why do you insist on seeing profitability? They say, well, they got to return some to the investors. Well, how about fold over in capital? You bought the stock at whatever if you're an investor, and now you got like 100 million times more money than you did before. Isn't that a form of returning money to you? So I really don't see the fundamental short against it. People that are like obsessed with shorting it, and they keep losing money. So I wouldn't short it because the move was fundamental. Then they turn in a profit. So here, and then now they would say, oh, the profit is bull. And it's like, okay, so now what? The kind of profit is not good enough when they deliver a profit? No, the kind of profit is not good enough. Keep shorting it. That's what I tell them. They keep saying, I'm shorting it. I faded it from plus 20% down to plus 11%. So if you faded it 10 points on a bad day in the market overall, good for you. But the shorted long term is ridiculous at this point. They are a winning company. They know what they're doing. I wouldn't short it based on that alone. So find another reason.
Nick, one more report that I know you're probably watching is Thursday night we're getting LinkedIn, and this is a stock that had a disaster last quarter. Stock dropped 50 points on their report. It's been trying to climb its way back slowly here. It's got it back about half the losses from last time's report. What do you think about this going into this, and are you playing it?
I'm not playing it. I haven't looked at the open interest, but technically I know I looked at it recently, and like Baidu, it has a potential for huge downside, but I'm not calling for it because it also, LinkedIn has a potential for breaking. If it breaks the 225 area, it could technically wish up another 25 points or so. But conversely, if it loses the 205 area, it could wish down to 170 or so. So I want to show something. Let me see if I can plop in a Baidu chart. I don't want to say I told you so, but I drew a chart for Baidu a while back, and you can see on the chart notes when I pull it up there you go, that I had 170 in my sight line, and I see the same thing for LinkedIn if it breaks 205. So if you want, as far as, let's go look at the open interest right now. Maybe we can get a better idea if we have time on LinkedIn. I have not played it. It's a mover, so I probably will. Unfortunately, the open interest doesn't give me a lot of direction. It looks like 225 is where they're lined up right now, but not in fierce numbers, so it's not really a good gauge for it. So it'll be a pure coin flip on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, I know you haven't been a huge fan of that in the past. I mean, as far as for your own personal use, right?
No, I'm not, and I really am leery of what they do. You know, I'm going to get in trouble. I hope you guys don't tweet that part, but
Brianna, get your Twitter feed ready.
Yeah. I don't know how
Joel
they
tweet.
know stuff about me. I mean, they give me marketing bits that are so personal in my email box, and I know I did not give them permission to go through my email box. So I don't know how the hell they get this information. So, you know, like, do you know this person? Well, I know I've never emailed this person. However, they exist in my phone somewhere. So I just don't know how that happens.
You know what? I agree with you, Nick. I'm shocked at like you'll say, "Do you know this person?" It's somebody, you know, that, yeah, I do know that person. And how do you know that I know that person? Because, you know, I haven't had an interaction with that person in 5 years. I don't even know if I have an email there. Yet they know. It's like they read your mind. They're kind of
No, it's
geniuses
like
over there
they
at
look
LinkedIn.
at your past, like
It's like an algorithm based
yeah,
on what industry you're in,
yeah,
who you know,
where you
where
work.
you work, what you
No,
posted about. No, it's like no.
No, they're reading our minds.
I
They're
don't buy it.
mind-reading
I don't
technology
buy
at
it.
LinkedIn.
I don't buy
I
it.
don't really have like unlike Twitter, I really don't have an opinion here in LinkedIn. How about, I mean, we still got a little time here to Priceline, Nick, and I know that's one of your favorites, and I know you were trying to pick it up on the downside there when we broke down to 1100. Didn't quite get it. Got back up to 1250 here. TripAdvisor didn't have real great earnings here. What's your take here at Priceline? You're trying to jockey for position here. I think it's sometime in August, isn't it? When like August 5th or August 13th, something on the Priceline earnings. Trying to
Yeah,
position.
they usually report early August. Priceline gives me no clues from the open interest really, because I haven't had a good beat on it from there, but I do have a good beat on it as a stock. I whenever it gets hammered, whenever it got to 1100, I sold naked puts at like 840. So, and it was an easy money deal, and I closed it since. I also sold calls at like whatever 1400 and something. So, and I closed those. So that's how I'm trading Priceline, because it really doesn't pay to trade it anywhere near the money because it runs $100 a day. So if you're doing it with credit spreads, it's really hard to play it close to the money. It is a momentum stocks, and if you can pick the position, I usually like to play it when it gets hammered. I believe in it. They do good stuff. They're global, and they eventually turn up. The only bad thing that could happen is if you go long it on a drop in Priceline and then the markets tumble. It will run just as fast as the markets. Although yesterday it held in line. where other momentums were down 4 and 5%, Priceline was down 0.8. That was last time I checked during the day. So that was encouraging, somewhat encouraging. So I usually let the move happen, and when I see it reached a technical level where it could start finding footing or resistance, then I either go long it or short it. And the easiest way to do it is via long-dated, way out of the money spreads, or even naked if you're good enough to do that. I never condone selling naked, but in some hands for a short period of time, they can probably work.
Nic, one final question for you. Last week you were on, and that was before the Apple earnings. I know you had some money in the bank from the run up, so you were playing some lotto calls. That didn't work out here. Big sell off, trying to fight back here. Is the story over here in Apple, or is just giving you a nice
No.
buy, a nice buying opportunity? Come on, Nic.
Well, let me tell you this. If I can't risk money long-term on Apple, I should close shop and go home.
Okay, good
I
point.
mean, if you think that Apple is a risk for money, then there's no company that's worthy of money out there.
Ooh.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Even though I don't own any Apple products, and probably never will. But Apple is
You
been
don't
playing.
own an Apple product?
No, I don't. And
Wow. You're one of the
I
few
was
people in the world.
I was given an older Nano or one of those, iPods. So, but I've never gone out and said, okay, I take that back. I did buy an
So you
iPad.
do own an Apple product. You just
I
didn't buy
did,
one.
but I didn't buy it. Yeah, I did buy an iPad. I did buy an iPad Mini because when the online trading platforms, they're all built for Apple and nothing but. So I used it for about 6 months until everybody built applications for Samsung stuff. So then I bailed. So anyway, the Apple story is that 2 weeks ago, Apple dropped to 119 just after a Chinese market debacle. So my theory at the time, I jumped long into it, you know the story, and
Yep.
my theory was that they went to the piggy bank, they needed to raise cash to cover losses somewhere else. Well, we just had an issue with the Chinese market debacle and also all the metals and et cetera, so commodities. So that's the only fear is they may run to the piggy bank again, but if they do, I'll go long it again. So it's now at a technical level where it still holds an ascending channel, a rising channel. So if it bounces off of here and continues towards 127-ish, then we're okay without it breaking that. Otherwise, it could break it, and it could come down to 115. There are some technical guys and gals out there that forecast a little bit lower sometimes, a little bit higher. But over the long term, these are calls I can buy and almost forget about if I give them time to be right. So some of the calls I took for the earnings were way out, obviously, but they were also way out in time. So yes, I did lose money on those, but they were house money, and I'll just sleep on them and see what happens. Maybe I can put them to work if it rises a little bit from here by selling calls against them shorter dated.
Working your positions. Nic Chahine, options expert. He joins us every Tuesday to discuss this week's options outlook. Also, I encourage everybody to take a look at his Marketfy product, Create Income with Option Spreads. Nic, thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nick.